So for anyone who just joined us on live stream, thank you so much for being here with us today virtually at the Boeing Machinist picket line. We are here to hear from some of the machinists and folks who are here today with Worker Strike Back in solidarity with their demands about why the strike is taking place and why we think it's so important that the whole labor movement and the whole broader community and working class stand in solidarity with the Boeing machinists and help make sure they have whatever they need to win every demand that they're fighting for. Worker Strike Back was founded out of the movement of Councilmember Shama Sawant's office. She spent 10 years on the Seattle City Council, the only socialist on the City Council, and was able to win really historic victories for working people, including the $15 an hour minimum wage, which means Seattle now has the highest in the nation minimum wage. And we wanted to take those strategies and tactics lessons that we learned through the decade of her council office to try to help strengthen other struggles of working people, both union struggles and strikes like the one we're at today, but also social struggles. So without further ado, I want to hand it over to Andre, who is a member of Worker Strike Back and a Boeing machinist from Everett, to talk about why he's out on strike.
Hello, thank you all for joining striking machinists at our picket line tonight. My name is, thank you, Andre Johnston, and I'm a member of the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers and of Worker Strike Back. For the week that we've been on strike, I've been leading a group called Machinists for a Strong Strike to build urgently needed rank and file organizing to make sure our union wins a strong contract. Since 96% of our IAM members voted yes to strike last Friday on a contract that fell far short of our needs, we have been discussing on the picket line every day what we're demanding from Boeing bosses and what we need to do to win it. We're fighting for a 40% general wage increase with no cuts to our annual AMP bonus. Like all workers, machinists at Boeing have been hit hard by skyrocketing inflation, and we want a 20% general wage increase up front. We also want a retroactive defined benefit pensions for all. 401ks are savings accounts dependent on the volatile stock market. We demand the right to retire with dignity. We also demand an end to mandatory overtime. We support the call made by UAW to fight for a 32-hour work week with no loss in pay. Winning our demands will be no small task. We need to build the strongest possible strike through rank and file action and a strategy to fight back. That means a strong picket line and public rallies where community members stand alongside us in our fight. We've called for our union to launch public strike funds so that members of the Seattle community and all across the country can support us while we're on the picket line. We're calling for doubles, which would help us to get to double strike pay and mass rallies of workers in the community to put maximum pressure on Boeing. Also for our international to contribute towards that strike fund. Unfortunately, we have no support from the Democratic Party in this fight, but I can't say I'm surprised. I've seen a few of them on the picket line, but I haven't seen any of them making any demands on the news. The last time we voted on a contract, Democrats in Washington did a full court press telling us we had to swallow a terrible contract, took away our defined benefit pensions, and massively increased our healthcare costs. They worked with the Boeing bosses to ram this contract down our throats, and this time around, we are the Democrats standing with us in our demands. I'm proud to be joined on the picket line by pro-worker, anti-war presidential candidate Jill Stein, as well as former independent socialist Seattle City Council member Shama Sawant. The Biden-Harris administration has been no friend to workers. They broke the back of the railroad strike. Shama Sawant and Jill supported the railroad strike workers in their fight. They've broken their promises on public health care and the $15 minimum wage, and they are backing this genocidal war in Gaza. And Donald Trump is no alternative. He's a billionaire conman who went to bat for the right to work in the union-busting Jonas case. And these two rotten choices are what the two parties of big business have to offer. Working people and our unions need an alternative to the two warmongering parties of the bosses. We need a new mass party for working people. Workers also have a central role to play in ending this war in Gaza, and withholding our labor with clear fighting demands is the strongest tool we have at our disposal. But allowing ourselves to be tied to the parties of big business means we are fighting with one hand tied behind our backs on every issue. The labor movement needs to end the lesser of two evils. Spending millions to elect Democrats has been a losing strategy for decades. I believe supporting Jill Stein is what we need to do in this election. She's the only candidate fighting for Medicare for all, which all unions need. As you can see, we're losing our health care at the end of the month, a $25 minimum wage, and an end to the genocide in Gaza and all arms trade to Israel. It is no accident that she's the only presidential candidate here on the picket line with us today. The next step for us is to get as many of our union brothers and sisters to the organizing conference in February that Workers' Strike Back is organizing, alongside Jill Stein's campaign and the abandoned Harris activists, to discuss the next steps to build a fighting labor movement, the anti-war movement, and to bring together groups like Workers' Strike Back, the Greens, and the wider working class trade unionists to build a new mass party.
Thank you so much, Andre. As Andre said, we're extremely lucky to be joined here by Jill Stein, the Green Party presidential candidate, and we absolutely want to hear from you, Jill, and you, Shama, but I just want to see first if any of the other machinists here would like to speak. You can also speak after Jill and Shama, but if anyone has anything they want to say right now, the mic is yours.
My name's Dave Mayer, and I work on the third shift at Boeing here in Renton. And I'm just proud of the strong amount of people that have supported us and the great win with the vote, and how strong the younger generation and everyone feels like we need a better cost of living, wage, and benefits. So I'm proud to be here.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you. My name is Michael Diamond. I'm a flight line aircraft mechanic. Worked over here at Pre-Flight for 8.5 years on third shift, building these 737s all night long. And now I'm over in Seattle in flight testing some of our new aircraft that we're bringing online. And yeah, I'm just proud of the machinists standing unionized and telling this company that this isn't enough. It was a joke what they offered us. And yeah, they just tried to take away exactly what they were giving us. They just played a little shell game with us, and 96% of our union members could see right through it. So these large companies, they owe it to their employees to really give them a fair wage and just allow their families to thrive and just get their kids through college and put good clothes on them. And I couldn't even afford to get my wife a new car. She had to get another job so she could make her car payment. We finally got a new car. It's been 20 years. But working for these big companies, every family should be able to buy a brand new car every 20 years and put their kids in nice schools if they want to. I got one kid in a private school. I had 2 children there, and but I got one kid off at Western. She's 19 years old and she's just starting off. She needs to, I told her, you need to look around and find a company that can support you and your family and the things that you want to do. We spend money in this community, and somehow all my money gets spent in this community. There's not much left for me unless I'm over here on the weekend spending my time instead of missing soccer games with my kids and not getting up to the mountain to go snowboarding, and I'm sitting over here working on airplanes. I like working on airplanes. It's some of the funnest work I've ever done. It's challenging. It's always testing my skills, and but I don't want to be here 6 and 7 days a week. If I want to work some overtime and buy something nice and take my family out on a special trip, that's when I want to work overtime. I don't want these managers making me come into work and then stealing my benefits when I can't show up because I already had plans. they're coming in here on Friday afternoon and they're mandating overtime before first break, and we're supposed to tell our families, sorry, I got to go to work. This company needs me, and now I'm pretty sure they need us right now. So I want the CEO, this new CEO, I got high hopes for him. We'll see if it works out, but he signed our code of conduct that every employee signed here that says we'll do the right thing and will participate in fair dealings in all aspects of our life. And he needs to stand right and make it right by his employees. We've been done wrong 2 times so far for me. I've only been here since 2011. They've only taken 2 big groups of things away from me, from both little gratifications where they threatened to take our work away from us and lose our jobs, and we gave them all this stuff, and they still sent jobs down south, across the borders, in different countries. They've slowly eroded these different job grades. Boeing has an 11 grade scale, and I don't know if there's many grade 11s left. And one of the things in this contract was to move these grade 9s to a grade 10. And the reason is because it was a joke. There was no more grade 10s left. They just eroded all these senior guys that were super experienced. They ended up getting their grade 10s and 11s, and instead this company just washed everybody back to a grade 8 and a grade 9, and there was very little of those grades left. So I mean, they acted like it was some kind of gift that they were going to upgrade these grades to get paid $3 more an hour, but they should have done that a long time ago. I mean, these are experienced people. They've been inside and outside of these airplanes, on their hands and knees, crawling through wire bundles and getting stabbed by sharp metal, trying to make these airplanes perfect. And these guys these CEOs up in the C-suite, they need to realize what's actually valuable in this company and pay us well.
Final note, I also want Boeing to stop discriminating against families who have FMLA on the personal contributions of the 401k. Any family who uses up FMLA gets punished on that contribution and can never make it back, nor can they get the 6% company match, and that needs to end. FMLA is enough of a burden on those families. They don't need to be punished more. Thank you.
And I think Loda was going to share something about the impact of these really harsh policies on families.
So it's a family who unfortunately are forced to use it. My husband, when he takes out the family, he can't just take 2 hours. He has to take an entire day. And he will lose out on other benefits by doing so. He can never make it up. It doesn't matter how much overtime he works. He works his maximum overtime hours every paper or every period he can. He still does not get the benefits back that he lost out by having been forced to take FMLA. And again, like the times of when they have to go in, if he can't go in on a weekend when it's they demand them come in for overtime, he loses out on his sick pay or his vacation pay. So then we lose out on that too. We as families are being punished more than anything. I'm not saying that anyone else is not being punished. All the workers here are being punished. It is absolutely disgusting. This company are so rich, and the CEOs make so much money, but they're penny pinching us as families. We are losing out, and it's got to stop, and it's got to stop now.
I heard, just on that note, I heard that Boeing pays the cost of childcare for non-unionized workers, like managers, at a facility right nearby. But if you're unionized, if you're a machinist, you have to pay $1,700 a month out of pocket for childcare. Is that true?
Minimum.
They have a benefit of private license. Non-union members have the benefit of provider license, which is right across from the Everett factory, but that benefit is not available to any union members. We can use the facility, but we have to pay a monthly fee of $1,700 a month.
Which is probably more than the cost of rent for a lot of people who are watching right So I would love now to hear a few words from Jill Stein, a Green Party anti-war, pro-worker presidential candidate, about why she traveled out here today to be on the picket line in solidarity with the Boeing machinists.
Thank you. And I'm just so grateful to the Boeing machinists and to Workers Strike Back for doing what you do, for the solidarity that you have with each other, and for really raising the bar for workers all over the country, because your struggle really is the struggle of the American worker. And there's so much in your story which, you know, is reminding me of the struggle of the Railroad Workers Union, who basically they work constantly and they never know what their work hours are going to be, and their workforce is cut back. They work under really dangerous conditions. They have 2 or at most 3 people staffing a train, which is 2 or 3 miles long, often carrying dangerous cargoes. You know, that's how we got into the disaster at East Palestine, which, you know, lives on in a really horrible way. But this is just to thank you so much. Thank you so much for daring to stand up. Thank you for your solidarity. Thank you for giving courage to working people all over this country who are being so thrown under the bus for decades, really. And, you know, it's like this slow chipping away at your wages versus inflation. The failure to renew your contract from 2016, and then the bargaining away of your defined benefit pensions. And just, you know, it's this constant chipping at the things that create a livable life, and those livable lives have really fallen through our fingers, and the hardships on families and kids and the erosion of health insurance. It's just unconscionable. As Lotta was saying, this is disgusting. You know, we need to call out, you know, the business leaders and our political leaders that participate in this. In the same way that the Democrats gave the blessing to your last contract and that deal that was made, basically giving away your defined benefit pensions, in the same way that the Democrats basically forced the railroad workers to accept a contract that they had already rejected and forbid them to have, you know, the most essential right of working people, and that is the right to strike. So we're just so grateful to you, and I just want to remind people, you know, what the struggle is that working people are up against now. It's outrageous that you have to rely on healthcare plans that are being cut up from under you, when we all could have healthcare as a human right now for everyone through an improved Medicare for All plan. It's outrageous that we don't have that. That plan actually saves us money. It cuts the cost of healthcare. Right now, 1 out of every 3 healthcare dollars is spent on paper pushing and red tape and bureaucracy. Instead, we can put those dollars through a single payer type system. Instead of tracking who's the insurer, we actually pay for health care. So, you know, it's inexcusable that workers are made to struggle, are made to fight for just the most basic human right of health care. It's outrageous that working people have to struggle for a roof over their heads, you know, and it's not only what $1,700 to pay childcare. You know, so how are you then going to pay an additional $1,700 or $2,000 or $2,500? You know, when the price of rent is skyrocketing, when the private equity real estate companies are buying up housing in order to drive the price up, in order to increase their profits. It's outrageous that that is allowed to happen. It's outrageous that we do not have rent control across the country for everyone to just stabilize the cost of housing. It's also outrageous that under Bill Clinton, in fact, a law was passed, the so-called Fair Cloth Amendment, that prevented any further public investments in public housing. It made it illegal to expand and upgrade and maintain public housing. In Europe, there's a whole different standard. Public housing is called social housing. It's mixed income, it's permanent housing. It needs to be built along with public transportation so that you're not having to deal with traffic problems, along with the housing, that way you can have concentrated housing, along with green space, renewably powered, and this can be housing that protects our health, that creates healthy and resilient communities. It's outrageous that we can't do that. And again, a Democrat, Bill Clinton, passed that. A Democrat who prohibited the railroad workers union from having the right to strike. Democrats and Republicans, well in particular it's Democrats who promise us health care until they get into positions of power, and then suddenly there are always reasons why they can't do it. Or for example, the bulk purchasing benefit to bring down the cost of pharmaceuticals. The cost of pharmaceuticals that sent 8 million people into poverty in the last year that was where the statistics exist. People are being driven into poverty. They are unable to actually purchase their pharmaceuticals. If you develop cancer, and cancer rates of course are rising, especially among younger people. If you develop cancer, the odds are over 40% that you are going to spend down your life savings within 2 years. These are the kinds of absolute emergencies, the kinds of crises that are being inflicted as the rule, not the exception, when in fact we could have health care for everyone as a human right. So you don't have to negotiate it as part of your contract. You don't have to worry about keeping your job in order to keep your health care. You actually then have the liberty to exercise your freedom and your leverage as workers to go where you are given respect, where you have decent benefits. It's outrageous that we do not have affordable housing, again, as a human right. And it's outrageous that this war in Gaza, which is really kind of a symbol of the American empire, which is conducting too many wars all over the world, so that half of our congressional dollars now are being spent on the endless war machine instead of ensuring that we have quality jobs. A $25 an hour minimum wage ought to be the federal minimum wage for all workers. So all workers have a decent quality of life and do not have to live in poverty even when you are working a 40-hour-a-week job. And I want to again applaud what Andre was saying about workers should have the right to a 32-hour week with the same pay that allows us to lead good and decent lives, to have rich family lives and community lives, to take care of our children, to be with them on the weekends, not be working mandatory overtime. We need to have livable lives, and we just want to give a very big thank you to all the workers here on strike against Boeing to raise the bar for all of us. Thank you all so very much, and thank you, Workers Strike Back. We're here together for the long haul. It's all about the solidarity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jill. And yeah, thank you so much to everyone who has spoken. Now I'm going to turn it over to Shama Sawant. Shama was the only socialist on the Seattle City Council for 10 years from 2013 to last year. She was the first socialist on the Seattle City Council in 100 years. And she's a founding member of Workers Strike Back and was one of the leading forces in the fight to make Seattle the first major city in the U.S. to win a $15 an hour minimum wage, to win the Amazon tax on the top earning corporations in Seattle. And so I'd love to hear your thoughts on why you're out here today, Shama.
Thank you, Kaylin. And Kaylin Nicholson, who's emceeing this really exciting mini rally, is also a member of Workers Strike Back. She also was part of the fight for $15 an hour, Amazon tax, and the unprecedented renters' rights. And in fact, we wouldn't have won any of those victories had we not used our city council office as a platform to build a movement of working people, uniting hundreds and actually thousands of working people in Seattle to win these victories. And that's why we are also so proud to stand alongside Boeing workers here. Thank you so much for joining us at this on strike live stream rally and sharing your thoughts about why you are on strike and most importantly, your demands. The workers at Boeing, the machinists who are unionized with the IAM, the International Association of Machinists, are, as Andre and others have said, are demanding a 40% wage increase plus their bonuses, which is called the AMP bonus. They're calling for a restoration of the defined benefit pension that was stolen from them 10 years ago and retroactive pension fund for all workers.
and no mandatory overtime. I think it's important to note how incredible the solidarity is among workers. In fact, just before we started this live stream, the Boeing workers here were talking about how much they, and you mentioned actually right now, how much you admire that younger workers and veteran workers are standing together and not allowing the good old divide and conquer that the bosses try to do. And they will continue to attempt to do that. And so I think in this rally, we should also talk about what we feel needs to be done in the strike action as well. But just to talk about the context in that led us and Boeing workers and the community to this point, that, as Andre mentioned, came 10 years ago in 2013. In November, there was an incredible, unbelievable sellout that was carried out by Boeing Corporation, by the executives, where they said that in order to be able to build the new planes in the Seattle region, in the factories in this region, workers would need to give up their defined benefit pension. And not only that, that was not going to be enough. Not only that, the corporation also said that they needed a big tax handout, tax giveaway, from tax break from the Washington state. And what did the state legislature do, and the governor? The governor he's still the governor, Jay Inslee, a Democrat. The state House and the state Senate, they were both dominated by the Democratic Party. And yes, the Republicans absolutely went along with the Democrats in the sellout, but it was the Democrats who had a clear majority in both houses of the state, and they had the governor's mansion. They publicly, it was astounding. You had to be there to believe this happening. It was an open selling out of the workers. They weren't even hiding it, and they actually said that we need to do this. The Democrats, including Jay Inslee, the governor, they said, we need to give Boeing the $8.7 billion tax giveaway because that's what's needed. We need workers to give up their pensions because that's what's needed. Why? So that we could keep jobs here. So what actually happened was that the Boeing executives and the major shareholders carried out stunning extortion, blackmail, and what I would call really economic terrorism, where they said that if you don't give us this, this, and this, if the workers don't absolutely accept this complete gutting of their benefits, then we are going to take jobs to other states, namely non-unionized states. And this is the kind of divide and conquer they carry out across states, or against workers across states, against between unionized workers and non-unionized workers, and workers across countries. They'll say, we'll ship your jobs to South Carolina, we'll ship your jobs to Mexico, we'll ship your jobs to somewhere else. And the state legislature, instead of joining the workers and the union in fighting back, they said, oh, well, you can have all this on a silver platter. And what happened after that should be a surprise to nobody, because despite all the sacrifices that the workers ended up making, all the gains that they had won in the past being taken away from them, stolen from them, despite all of that, the Boeing Corporation in the next many years moved nearly 13,000 jobs. Anyway, Michael, we were talking about this earlier, that, where are all the jobs that we gave up our defined benefit pension from? Those jobs are gone anyway. So this kind of economic blackmail from corporate executives, from the capitalist class, never works. And our only option as the working class is to fight back. And that's why it's so crucial that the Boeing workers are on strike now. This is a 33,000 strong workforce, and there is there's a potential historic victory here that can be won. And Boeing workers also have leverage right now. The Boeing Corporation, because of the executives' complete mismanagement of the company, flouting all kinds of safety rules, despite workers fighting to maintain safety standards, has driven the company to the point where they are in danger of getting a lower rating in their stock market rating. And that's why workers here have leverage in their strike, and it's a crucial historic moment for them to win something big. And we urge everybody who's watching this, if you're anywhere near the Seattle region, please come on here. Even if you're in Portland or Olympia, please come and join the workers here at the picket line, stand with them, talk about their struggle. Let's make sure that working people across the region understand what's at stake, because it's not only for Boeing workers. If Boeing workers win significant victories through this strike action, not only will it benefit them and their families, family members like Lota, it is also going to benefit all working class people, because we know an injury to one is an injury to all, but also when the victories are won, the victories ripple out to the entire working class. Just like the UAW victory last year was so crucial because it not only made their living standards go up, but it is a call to action. It's a shot in the arm for workers across the nation, and especially for rank and file labor. Let's not forget, as Andre mentioned, UAW workers, members who are auto workers in the three main auto companies, they won 150% wage increases. This can be done. It is possible. It is possible to do this through a strong strike action, which is exactly what the Boeing machinists are doing, but they need sustained solidarity from the community, and that is why Workers' Strike Back is out here every single day standing with them, and Andre, as a Workers' Strike Back member and a Machinist Union member, is out here every single day along with his co-workers. We want this strike to be strong. We are also, that's why, calling for mass community rallies as well, where tens of thousands of working people, not just Machinist Union members, can come and join you in your struggle and say, I'm with you, I stand with you. The other important thing for this strike is strike pay. We cannot build a strong strike if Boeing workers are forced to go and get temporary jobs just to make ends meet rather than being on the picket line. We need to allow the Boeing workers to stay on the picket line and fight their strike. And that's why we need the strike fund to be very strong. And that's why I would appeal to the leadership of the IAM International that please fund the strike fund in such a way that they get double the strike pay that they're getting today, and that the strike pay should start immediately because they're already on strike. We should not wait for 3 weeks. They need money now. They need to pay their rent, their housing payments, and put food on the table. And so let's make sure that this gets done. And also, we are also urging the IAM International to make this public, the strike fund public, so that the community can donate. And last but not least, I would also appeal to the leadership of the labor movement as a whole, especially big unions like the UAW, the Teamsters, and UFCW, which is the biggest union in Washington state. Please donate tens of millions of dollars to these to the strike fund of these workers, because that is what they need. In fact, we need hundreds of millions of dollars in order to make this strike happen. It can be done. Union strike funds are meant exactly for this purpose. Union strike funds exist in order to make strikes possible and in order to make strikes successful. And so we wish all the Boeing workers a really good luck, and we will be here every single day with you as Workers Strike Back. Thanks so much to Jill. She flew all the way from Boston to be here with the workers, made an urgent visit, because she understands, unlike the Democrats and Republicans, that workers' movements and strike actions are crucial for building a better society. And you know, I'll join Andre in saying that I've also seen some Democrats come out here and do photo ops, but they don't make any promises. They don't say anything concrete. They just say, I'm with you, but they don't talk about what it is that the workers need in order to win. They never say, yes, I support the Boeing workers in getting 40% plus AMP. They never say, I support you in getting defined benefit plus retroactive payments. But you hear Jill Stein standing here and saying that this is important. This is the kind of commitments we need from elected representatives of working class people, but we don't have very many of those. That's very rare. The example that we showed in Seattle is unfortunately the sole example that we have seen, and that's not enough. It's simply not enough. That's why I would urge, if you're watching this, please join Workers Strike Back. Please contact us at workersstrikeback.org, because we need workers to get organized in order to fight for these things and in order to bring the strategy that we were able to use in Seattle to win these historic victories. But we can't do that without workers getting organized.
Thank you so much, Shama. I was just doing a little bit of research on to look back at the headlines from 10 years ago when the last contract fight happened. And exactly what Shama said, I mean, it wasn't just that the Democrats were sort of accepting the sellout contract. They were publicly threatening and shaming machinists, saying that if you don't accept this, not only will your jobs be gone, but the entire economy of the state will crash and it will be your fault. And they were trying to turn the rest of the working class against the machinists and say, look, they're threatening your jobs too. They're threatening the whole economy. And I think the only reason they're not doing that in the same way this time around is, well, I think there's two reasons. I think one is given the headlines that Boeing has made in the past several years, and just the, absolutely flagrant, intentional lying and covering up safety issues, attacking whistleblowers. I think the Democrats don't feel as emboldened to come out as strongly on their side anymore. But I think also the fact that there is a close presidential election happening right now means that they're a little bit more careful about what they say. But both of those things actually are why workers have so much leverage and so much power in this moment, in this strike, right? And I also was looking at the figures of how much. One of the things I've seen Boeing saying is, well, we're in a crisis right now. There have been all of these issues, not our fault, but we just don't have a lot of money to spare. It would just be really difficult for us right now to meet the workers' demands. So I was looking up how much profit has been returned to Boeing shareholders since the last contract, the last sellout contract. Does anyone want to make a guess?
In the hundreds of millions, billions.
$68 billion have been returned to Boeing shareholders in stock buybacks and dividends in the last 10 years, while you all have been working weekends, while your families have been suffering, while you haven't been accruing pensions, while you've been paying exorbitant out-of-pocket medical costs, paying $1,700 a month for childcare. $68 billion of the wealth that you all created has been handed to these wealthy shareholders, and Boeing has the audacity to say that they can't afford to give you a 40% raise. Absolutely shameful. Did anyone else have anything to say? Anything to add?
I gotta explain my side here. Yeah, I got the shirt here that came out about 2016. Apparently our third removed CEO, Mr. McNerney, got caught making a comment to some press as he was about to retire. I think he was 64, and the normal retirement was about 65 for Boeing CEOs. They were asking him, hey, Mr. McNerney, are you going to retire? And he states that as long as he's still breathing and living and the employees are still cowering, he's going to stay in charge. He said that, and I think that is about the same sentiment of most of our CEOs since him. I got new hopes for this new guy, Kelly, but only time will tell if he can do the right thing. But we're not cowering now. We're standing up for what we need to support our families. So, yeah, we cower to no one. The IAM and all the working people of this beautiful United States of America. God bless you all.
Thank you. And on that note, if anyone watching this live stream is a union member, and if you want to introduce a resolution in your union in solidarity with the Boeing Machinist strike and calling for their demands to be met in full, reach out to Workers Strike Back. We have a sample resolution that we can send you and talk you through the process for how to get that resolution passed. And I think that's it for us today. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.